Hi friends, welcome back to ARC Tutorials. We are continuing with our Angular 9 tutorial series, and in today's episode we will learn all about Angular CLI. Angular CLI stands for Command Line Interface, which means basically you can do everything through the command prompt. A lot of general things that we need, like generating components, importing them into the required classes, generating unit tests, services, directives, and everything pretty much that you require for an Angular application can be generated using Angular CLI. That being said, let's get started with today's episode. So my name is Sridhar Rao, and I have over 10 years of experience as a full stack developer, and I bring knowledge on modern technology stack in front-end engineering as well as back-end technologies. I'm here to share my knowledge with you and also to learn from you all. This is the Angular 9 full tutorial series. If you have not checked out the previous episodes, please do so that you learn everything about that you need to build an Angular application. In the tutorial series, we have covered so far how the basic introduction, how to upgrade, how to install Angular CLI, and how to run an app. We also learned how to install Bootstrap framework. We understood about the process, the folder structure, the booting process that an Angular application goes through. In today's episode, like I said, we will learn about Angular CLI, and this is a complete guide, so you'll learn everything that you need to build Angular application in this tutorial. Let's get started. So what is Angular CLI? Angular CLI, like I said, stands for Command Line Interface. Basically, when we we learned how to start a project using the command line here, and we used a command called ngNew to generate our application. So you can give your name here, your project name that you want to give. And then this is a ng command, which is nothing but a command line interface. So similarly, it comes with a lot of other commands which are very useful in quickly creating rapid prototyping, quick development of your application. We will learn some of these commands in today's episode, and we will master how to use Angular CLI. So what can Angular CLI do for us? So it does auto generation of the code, which means that we don't have to worry about how to write the syntax of basic things. Since it is auto generated, it is also imported into the required classes. Also, you know that for every component, every service that we generate, an automatic unit test file is also generated. So this helps developers and QAs in getting things faster. Otherwise, you will spend a lot of time writing the classes by yourself. So a lot of good developers will always make use of these CLI tools to make their lives easy. That is what we are going to learn now. All right, so how to use CLI for auto generation? Let's get started. I'm going to show you all about it. As usual, like in all tutorials we do, I'm going to start taking some notes for you. So just in case you can refer it. So let's start. If you have not checked out the previous notes, tutorial 5, tutorial 6, and now we are going to start with tutorial 7. And tutorial 7, we are going to learn all about Angular CLI. Angular CLI. All right. Okay. So let's get started now with the commands, basic commands. So the first command that I'll teach you now, we have seen that in the previous episode, which is how to generate an application. So we have seen how to generate that using ngCLI, right? So we will write ngNew followed by the application name that you want to give. So that I've already done and generated a project called one conversion. So now let's start with some of the basic things that we need. All right. So the first command that we learned was ngNew followed by the project name that you want to give. This will generate the project for you. Also, in most times, you will also require to check the version number of the Angular CLI that you're using. So this is an important command, especially when you're upgrading, when you're especially either um, upgrading or taking a new version of it, you want to be absolutely sure that you are working on a particular version. That's where you would use ng hyphen hyphen version. When you enter, you will see the Angular version that you're running on. So there you are. So we will see this output which says Angular CLI prompt, and then it also shows you the Angular CLI version we are running, the node version, the operating system, and all the modules that it has imported. You can also see the packages version numbers accordingly. So if you see, all of these are on 9, which means they are compatible with version 9. All right, so that was the first command, which is ng hyphen hyphen version. The next command we'll learn is ngGenerate. Now this is a very, very important command, and you will find yourself using this particular command, semantic command, a lot of times. Now ngGenerate is used to generate components, services, directives, pipes, modules, and lot more. So this is the single most command which you will find yourself using very, very often. Now this command takes parameters. Like for example, it can take component, it can take service, it can take directive, pipe, router, and lot more things. So I'm going to cover few here. Uh, so when you write ngGenerate, you will write what you want to generate. We will learn about the components, we'll learn about the services modules in the coming episodes. But for now, stay with me. Just understand that using ngGenerate command would give you all of the things auto completed. So that being said, now let's generate a component. I'm going to give a component name and I'm going to call it, say, login. You can give any name you want. Now, when you enter, you would see that it will generate you few files. It will, whatever is required. So if you see on your screen right now, it has created 4 files, and importantly, it has updated a file called app.module.ts. We are going to learn about modules in the next episode, but for now, just understand that it has created the 4 files, and it has updated a module file, right? So this is how we generated a component. So where is this component generated? Where can we see it? So it would be under your app by default, and inside this you see here that you have the login component, right? That we just generated. That was simple, right? So using ngGenerate component, we just generated a new component. Now, similarly, we can generate services, we can generate modules. So let's generate that. Ng generate. I'm saying generate a service, and the name of the service should be, say, I will just give it a common name. I'll say authenticate. You can give any name you want. Like I said, these are our names that are logical to your application, and we can give any name we want. There is no restriction on it. Now, so the next thing we are going to do is hit enter, and now you will see that there will be a new service that is generated, and there is a spec file. So like I told you in the previous episode, spec file stands for your unit tests. So for each file that is generated, there is a unit testing file also that goes with it. Similarly, for login component also, there is a spec file. So we generated a service. Now I'm going to show you a shortcut, which is, you don't have to type every time generate. Instead, we can just write ng generate. C stands for component. So see, there is a shortcut. Instead of writing the entire command, we can just write ng generate component and the name of the component that you want to use. Now you can also generate a module. I'm going to give the name as, say, authorize. This is the module I'm going to call, where we will have all our usernames. You can have login, logout, forgot, register, etc. We'll learn all about modules in the next episode. For now, just stay with me and learn how to use the ngGenerate command. So here you see we generated a module. So the command that we are learning now is ngGenerate, and using this we learned how to generate a component. You can generate a service. We learned how to generate a module, and now similarly we can also write ngGenerate pipe, and I'll say highlight. That's the name of the pipe I want to use. So it will create a pipe for us. So this is how you can use the ngGenerate command to generate all of the basic components of your Angular application. You can generate any number of components, you can generate any number of services, any number of modules that are required by your application. There is no restriction. The next important command, so make sure all of these commands we will be using in the coming tutorials. So it's important that you learn some basic CLI stuff. So we will be learning all of these, we'll be learning and using, that's important. We'll be learning and using all of these below commands in our tutorials that are going to that I'm going to cover in next. So the next command of ng that you should know, we already know it, which is ngserve. So when you hit ngserve, it will build your application and run your application. So it will compile your application. Since we are writing all the code in TypeScript, it will compile it into native JavaScript. So this is used for compiling our application, or rather what we call it as transpiling. So it will convert your TypeScript code into JavaScript and compile successfully, and you can open our application and see the details. So we can say localhost 4200, we should see our application, right? So this is the command we will run to launch or build our application, to run our application. Now this command is, you in most cases by default this is run. By default it uses 4200 port. So this is an application which is using 4200 by default. All Angular applications by default use 4200 port, right? But you can always customize it by passing and specifying the port number. So if you see, now I'm going to convert and I'm going to say that we have to run our application in port number, port equal to 4300. So here I'm telling the Angular app compilation that build the application, serve the application, but make it on port number 4300. So instead of 42, now we are going to use 43. So here we are going to use 43. So let's see, our application is compiled. So it is compiled successfully. You can also see the message here that it is running and listening on browser 4300. So you hit enter and we will still see our application, which means our application is now successfully compiled and running on port 4300. So that way we can customize the port number. Remember, whenever we do prod build, that is production build, AOT, which is compilation ahead of time, is by default enabled for prod. We will learn all about this during a compilation tutorial, but for now just understand this. These are very, very important things, especially everything of these that I'm explaining you will be asked in your interviews if you're attending, or if you're trying to switch jobs or project. These are some of the common things that they are bound to ask you. So make sure you understand each of these very well. Make sure you ask me any doubts you have during anything. Drop in the comments. I will be happy to help you. Also, if you're liking the tutorial so far, give a big thumbs up on this video. Also, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Let's continue. The other command that we should know in of Angular CLI is ngTest. Now, ngTest. So like I told you, the Angular application generates spec files, which are nothing but the unit test files, .spec.ts. So when we do ngTest, it will execute all our unit tests. Remember, this is only for unit tests. So ngTest will run all our unit tests. So, and it will open a Karma browser using Karma runner, and it will give the output of it. So we can see that it is now running and it says one failed. Okay, so we'll fix all of that, don't worry. So it shows which all uh, test cases have passed, which all have failed. So it will basically give a report. So this will run using tests are run using Karma runner. Unit tests are written in Jasmine framework, right? Using Jasmine framework. All right, so that was about ngTest. So like I said, ngTest is used for running your unit tests. Now, similarly, there is a command to run the end-to-end tests. So for that, the command is ngE2E. So what does ngE2E command do? It will run all our end-to-end tests. If you remember, in the tutorial number 5, we have learned about the folder structure E2E. We also learned about how these folders work, how the tests are written. So make sure if you have not checked out that tutorial, you do that to understand completely. Now, we are on ngE2E command. So when you run ngE2E, it will run all our end-to-end tests. So end-to-end tests, you will see it will have in the E2E folder, in the source, you will see that all of it will have a E2E dot E2E extension along with spec file. So this is how we know that these are end-to-end files, right? So now, and these are end-to-end test scripts. Now, let's run that n2e ngE2E command, and it will run all our end-to-end tests. So let's see that. Let's just give a minute. It will give us the report, and it will create a report and give us the output. Okay. So now we see it will first compile the application. It will run it. Okay. So, and it has run the end-to-end test scripts, and then it has given us that it has failed in one of the test cases. We'll fix them. Don't worry about the failures now. So this is how we run our end-to-end scripts. So the end-to-end test cases are written in protractor, protractor, right? That's why we see PO files, which is nothing but it means it is protractor files. All right. So the next thing now, the next command that we will learn is okay. So this is ng end-to-end test. You can do code generation. You can do disabling some of the tests. We can generate code coverage. We can do code coverage. We can disable some tests that are failing, or you want to skip. We can skip some describes. We can skip some component tests, etc. We'll learn all about that when we cover the testing aspect of it. Now, the next command we'll learn of ng is to ng update. That's an important one. We have learned it in tutorial number 2, which is ng update. So this command you will run, for example, if you are running on any version less than current version, or desired version, you will use ng update to update your Angular CLI and Angular core. So using this, we can pretty much, uh, I would say, upgrade to the latest version wherever you are. Now that being said, that's I'm not updating because there is nothing updating in my system because it's I'm already on 9. You can see here I am on 9 already, right? So I am on 9, so I'm not updating it. But if you're running anything 8, you can do um, ng update and you should see that details. Now, the next command we'll learn is, for example, when you want to build something, right? You will have a commands to build. For example, you want to promote your code to higher environments. How do you promote it? First, you need to make sure that you have a stable build of your application. And for that, we'll use the command ngBuild. And you will see there would be an output that would be created. Let me show you here. So this is used to generate the copy that you want to promote to higher environments. So build and take the build and generate the output, generate the output of your application, which is nothing but basically compiled JavaScript code, which you this is mainly used for promoting code to higher environments. Now you see this is building and you will see a new folder called dist. So see, it has now generated all the required files. You can take this code as it is and put it in your server and it will work, right? So this is the importance of ngBuild. Now, the next command that we'll learn is an important one. For example, you want to do some kind of code refactoring and code checking code quality. So you want to make sure that your code is properly linted, which means it doesn't have any warnings, the code is clean, and it has the correct syntaxes. So you will run the command ngLint. So using this, we can do our code linting, like code syntax linting. So it will tell you all files are passing linting. If you don't have any commas, semicolons, you can set rules for how code should be written. This is where you will set your coding standards, and the linting makes sure that it's following the coding standards, right? So that's what ngLint is used for. So in my case, if you see the output, it says all files are passing linting, right? So these are the top 9 commands that you will find yourself using every now and then if you are working with any Angular application. If you don't understand any particular concept like linting, test, module, service, component, it's okay because we are just starting with the tutorial. We will cover all of these details in the coming sections. Please give a thumbs up to this video. I'm bringing you the next episode and next tutorial, which is modules in Angular. So we just learned how to generate a module, component, service. The next tutorial is all about getting started with modules. Make sure you understand this well. Make sure you ask me any questions if you have any doubts. I'm here to help you. So these are the 9 commands that we learned today. Practice them, try them along with me. Let me know if you have any issues. In the next episode, we will learn about modules in Angular. Thank you so much for joining in this tutorial series. If you like the series, give a thumbs up to this video. Please don't forget to subscribe to keep encouraging and supporting me. Thank you so much.